Launching the future, how aggregation can help casinos leapfrog into fresh markets. Moderated by Oliver De Bono, Quantum Gaming.
Hi guys, good afternoon. Just quickly I want to welcome on stage Alex Tomic, CEO at Alea Gaming, and Lazar Mushin, co-founder and CEO at iGaming Advisor. So, thanks everyone for being here. Today we're here to talk about aggregation. Aggregation, I'm sure most of you in the crowd are quite familiar with the concept of aggregation, but we're really here to touch on the history, the benefits, and really why today it is near to impossible to launch a casino without an aggregator. So I just want to go into the history of aggregation and where it really came about. But to do that, I'm going to pass it over to Alex, who is an industry veteran and can give a good background on the history of aggregation. Alex.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys in Belgrade. My name is Alex Tomic. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Alea. We started in 2012 as an operator. I've been in this industry for 20 years. I've done affiliation before. And back in time, I don't know if you remember those times, but every casino was a micro-gaming casino, a play-to casino. You had the platform, you had the games, you had the payment. There was no GGR. We were paying the provider on in and out on the profit. The situation started to change in 2010, 2012 with providers like NetEnt that were building flash games that became HTML5 after. However, you could launch a casino. That was a time, if you remember, of Leo Vegas, Video Slots, ourselves, Slots Million, Mr. Green, where basically you would launch an operation with two software providers, maybe 3, 4. Most of the markets were Nordics, and we didn't really need aggregation because you didn't need an aggregator to integrate to. You could launch even with one software. You could launch with NetEnt. You would have BetSoft after, and during the year, you could add several software providers, but you wouldn't really need an aggregator, and we would see companies like SoftSwiss coming on the market, like Oryx, but there was no real need to use them if you wouldn't need a platform. But then, I mean, if you look at the situation today, you can't launch a casino without at least 50 softwares. And we probably have, I think today in our catalog, more than 100 softwares, 10,000 games. It's not that you need all these 100 softwares in each market, but you need some specific of them in specific markets. If you want to go Eastern Europe, you will have Aggregator. If you want to go Northern Europe, you will have NetEnt, etc., etc. Doing that today without an aggregation, it means that you need a launch window of 2 years. Between signing commercials, contracts, integrations, etc., you need 2 years. It's just completely infeasible. So aggregator, from something that you wouldn't really want to use, they were adding latencies, they were usually more expensive back in time, today's, I would say, a necessary evil.
Yeah, for sure, and you said it yourself. The times have changed. You know, in the early 2012, 2013, you had a handful of providers. Today, there are hundreds of content providers, and if you want to gain access to them and to actually localize your product, the only way to do it is through an aggregator. This is the reality of today's market. And I don't think it's just about, you know, content. It's also, as you said, development times, learning from what aggregation has brought to the market. So there is a lot of benefits, but we also want to touch a little bit on regional, and this is what we had spoken about earlier. You know, how about aggregation here in the Balkans?
Hi all, dobar dan svima. My name is Lazar Mushin, and I'm a CEO of an iGaming Advisor company. And thank you, Oliver. Thank you, Alex. So I would like to tell you one true story. So 2015, when we were starting an operation in Serbia, we had only an option to integrate directly some of the game providers. We have started with our partners to integrate microgaming, and nothing happened for several months. Then immediately we have changed our mindset and start using an aggregation platform. I will not tell the name, but this is something what helped us develop the online operation here at the beginning. Still, some of the operator that I was working for previously is still using the same aggregator and their features and building the platform and operation together. For sure that aggregation is something that is really, really important, especially on the markets that are not so interesting or not being interesting before for all the game providers. If you remember, if you wanted to integrate NetEnt, you had to stay in a queue, then had to pay a high set of fees and all the other things. These things are not necessary and always not necessary for the markets, like when you're using an aggregator platform, and for the markets where the operators or game providers consider them like .com, no matter if they are regulated. So that's the fast way how you can reach out to the product, what you want to build together with your partners and with the aggregation. So definitely this is something that is needed and it is a must for beginning. And you know, it depends how hard you are working on. If you have your own product, then you can start developing, but this is for sure the best. We continued, like Alex said, 2012, 2013, 14. The same was 2015, but the only thing what you were able to get through an aggregator was all the game providers at one place with statistics. So this is just the thing that it continuously grow and develop their product together with an operator. Also, if you're using an aggregation, for at least for the beginning, you will use and be able to use know-how from 100 different clients or hundreds of different clients. So this is probably the most beneficial thing what you can do for a beginning.
Yeah, and actually you made a very valid point there. And as you know, a newly startup platform, a new operator, it's not just our development times, it's also the game providers. They have their own queues, and sometimes lining up development times between our tech team and theirs is near to impossible. We know the benefits of aggregation, and it is a must. It's not a maybe anymore. And you mentioned as well localizing markets. This is true. If you're launching a casino today on a singular market, it is not that easy. You want to diversify. I'm not saying hit every market, but like you said before, you want to go on the .coms or you want to go into more regulated space. An aggregator allows you to open up those games across multiple licenses and multiple geos. This is one of the major benefits. But what I want to touch on a little bit more, because this is really interesting, and Alex, you mentioned it as well earlier, is the tech and the APIs. Because one thing we've noticed from our experience is the first question you get with any integration, are we going into you or are you going into us? This is always question number one. So it's great that we can bring this up. I'd love to get your take on this, running the correct APIs, who should be integrating into who?
I'd like to get that one. So we start as an operator, and to be completely honest with you, I would never integrate an aggregator back in time. And I would never integrate an aggregator back in time because latency issues, 1-2 seconds on each pins on top of the 500 milliseconds that NetEnt was requesting, for example. The second thing is API. These companies back in time, first of all, didn't have the proper hardware. Now with the cloud, everything has changed. With AWS, everything has changed. You can scale any amount of traffic just by pushing a button. It's expensive, but you just have to push a button. Why do I say that? Because if you had too much traffic and you would go through an aggregator, imagine that you have now 20 software providers. All your portfolio depends on an aggregator through one entry point. If these guys fuck up their servers, your operation is down. So if the payment servers fuck down, your operation down. If your servers fuck down, but now if your aggregator's operation fucks down, your operation is completely down. So you have this entry point and you don't want to have it. The other thing is at a software level, at the API level, we considered as an operator that we had more technical capabilities to integrate properly these 50 different languages that are each integration of each software providers. And today, this is not true anymore. I don't know any operators that has this specific technical capacity of understanding properly what a game API is, what a retry is, what a rollback is, how to deal with that, and how to deal with that in 50 different ways, because each software provider does it with a different language. So what you need in the middle is a piece of code that is a normalizer, is a Babel tower that's going to speak different language to all of these providers. It only speaks one language to you, and that is the most important part for me of an aggregator today.
That's interesting, and as you said, that is correct. I want to ask you a question, and I actually should probably know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it over to you. The ultimate difference of an operator going into an aggregator or vice versa, what are the pros and cons?
Okay, so if you look at the diagram of integration, the operator is here. There's just one cable going between the operator and the aggregator, and then there's, let's say, 100 cables going from the aggregator to the different software providers. I think it's clear for everyone. We have 100 integration, 100 software providers, the aggregator, and one API from the aggregator to the casino operator. It, I believe, is important. What we do as an aggregator, we integrate each of the API of the software providers. But basically, we plug ourselves into them. On the other side, on the operator side, we ask our customers, the operator, to integrate us, because we build that specific API. It's an open API, okay, where it is done as it should be done, and we are normalizing 100 different languages. So when we maintain this here, we maintain one output here for 100 input. So the operator must integrate the aggregator. Now, do we do reverse integration? Because you're so big and you tell me that I'm going to do the work and not you. Yes, I do it. I can do everything you ask me, okay? I'll do it. But it should not be done that way. But if I've got this big, I don't know, let's say pinup, come to me and say, you're going to integrate into us because it's going to take 1 month, and otherwise you go in our roadmap list and it's going to take 12 months, I'll integrate them. But it's not the right way to do the thing.
Yeah, this is really the understanding, and it's funny that we have so many of these discussions. And you know, even as from an operator standpoint, whenever we speak to an aggregator, but even a games provider, the first question they tell us is, you know, whose API, if you have a delay in your time frame, will integrate into you. And then immediately I go, but it doesn't really make a difference from our standpoint, because you still need our tech team available. You're not just going to plug in and play.
Sorry, it's not the same thing. To be honest, your tech team at that particular moment is just going to test. Testing is one thing. I mean, I know, because now we do reverse integration with smaller software providers. As we have the biggest one, now we don't integrate anymore the new software providers. They integrate into us, and we consider that our API has become a standard. So, and that's actually a very interesting point. That's another interesting point about aggregation, is that you have these new studios, new software providers, they come on the market, and some of them, they're pretty good at doing good games. If they are. But let's say they are. But they don't know anything about doing APIs. They suck at doing an API. And this is so important, because it's not just an API like Spotify that's going to give you a song. It's going to give you a bet and a win. It's money. If they don't code that properly, and they don't know shit about it, they know to make a nice slot, but they don't understand what a robust, reliable API is. So if you do that in their language, it's probably going to suck. At some point, there's going to be missing wins, missing bets. We're going to have very hard issues to reconciliate the bet and the wins. So they need to integrate us. And I won't name anyone, but we have very big software providers that have still legacy code, and where we see very big mismatch between the bet and the wins and what it should give at the end.
But that's really interesting, because this is something that we came across and we actually went through very much what you're talking about right now. We're running another group of 8 casinos, and there was a mismatch with the bet and win package, because you either have 2 signals or it can go as a singular. And what we found happened, that an integration was done incorrectly, and the bets were being taken, but the wallets were never being debited. So what ended up happening is we actually had a huge amount of players, up to the tone of about 1.3 million in bets, that were never deducted from the wallets, but the game provider had those bets taken on their side. So literally, you've had players who've made 1.3 million euros of bets, but taken all the winnings. And this actually does happen. I know it sounds terrible, but it does happen in the world of integrations.
Sorry.
There is a thing that we can now open additional channel of sales and develop a team who will help companies that does not know how to do an integration to help them and do it. And this is for sure something that is not functioning at the moment. And we know we also had the same issues. Like from the basic thing, we had like many issues, like you said, then mistakes and all the other things. So this is a business idea what to consider to see how we can help them and fasten this process and let's say outsource potentially these things. This will also bring, you have now probably more than 400, 500 game providers at the moment. So the market is highly competitive. How you can manage to get them all on every market? There is no way. There is no other way. So we can think about it. Why not?
Sorry, what you described happens a lot. It happens a lot. So now imagine you are a casino, you have your own platform, you have a really good team, they know how to build a platform, they did this amazing PAM in Java, like you guys, like we want to do too, and we have this CRM, bonus engine, everything built on, and now we have to work on the game APIs. And working on game APIs for development team is the boring thing nobody wants to do. Everybody wants to be on the back end, on the front end side. They all want to do products and features and stuff like that. They don't want to integrate APIs. APIs are boring as fuck. And they're all different. And indeed, what happens is exactly what you say. We have really hard issues in reconciliation, and reconciliation means money is missing, or is missing in the player's pocket, or is missing in the casino pockets. At some point, someone's not happy. And an aggregator, of course, can do the same mistake than an operator. But you know, it's like a surgeon. When you do 10 operations, the same operation 10 times per day, you get a knowledge that no one else has in doing this operation. And that's what an aggregator does. An aggregating team, integration team is doing these 10 operations every day. So we know this shit. We know how to do it. You know, we're very good at doing this little boring thing. Even a very experienced team of developers from a casino operator that is more used to work on the platform and the product won't have the eye to see. And even the problem is that it's released in production, that sometimes it takes months before we even notice it. And I say we because we had this as an operator. We had this kind of issues as an operator.
Yeah, and it is actually something, the worst part about it is actually quite hard to pick up on. So until you actually reconcile those wallets, those player accounts, and payouts start happening, that's when you start realizing, okay, there's a problem now. And the issue that we've experienced with that is even further, because those players or those bet wins can actually, it's not a question of having them in the player's wallet, but those players then go and take those winnings and spend them on other game providers. So this creates quite a, excuse me, but a big cluster of issues.
So yeah, very right point. I mean, I see we're speaking the same thing, is that when you have a flow like that on one little software provider, you could think it's isolated, it's clustered. Actually, it's not, because these guys, and sometimes the players that are exploiting these APIs, they know what's happening. They've seen it on another casino. Then they go on this other. They're going to go in all the casinos to see if the same integration issues is there. They exploit it. They take the money. They don't withdraw it, because otherwise you would see that each time there's a win on this particular software provider, then there is a withdraw behind. No, they go and they spend it on NetEnt. They spend it on all the other software providers, which creates a lot of GGR that you need to pay to NetEnt after, with money that has been won on this software provider, and then they're going to withdraw the money.
Well, this is literally what we had. We had one major scenario that was in this exact tune. Unfortunately, we've run out of time today, but I know there was a lot more that we could go into. What I want to do is just take a minute and find out if the audience have any questions for the panelists. Anything on aggregation? No. Then
Možemo i na srpski.
fantastic.
Srbo-hrvatski, ajde, nemoj tako.
Možemo i na srpsko-hrvatski.
I can't switch to Serbian soon enough.
Oh, it's okay.
But
we said all the words for you, so don't worry.
fantastic, guys. Then I just want to say thank you to the audience, thank you to the panelists, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.